Hi guys, and welcome back to my self-employment series. Today's video is all about common problems that new business owners face. I'm going to go through them so hopefully you can avoid making the same mistakes. So let's go. So the first one is expenses, which expenses you can put through and which you can't. So the general rule is that you get your income, you deduct your expenses, and then you are taxed on the remaining income, obviously minus your personal allowance. So, however, I found out the hard way that some expenses aren't deductible, so you can still put them on your expense sheet, and the idea is to work out if that expense is worth it versus the income that it brings. But you mainly want to know if you can deduct it before paying tax. So, entertainment, so taking out clients for food and drinks or having meetings with prospective clients, that food and drink you cannot deduct from your tax. So by all means put that through, but it won't be deductible, so just bear that in mind. The next one is uniform, so you can only put uniform through if it's specifically needed and has a safety aspect. So like a hard hat or protective clothing, like it has to have a specific need. You can't just get a branded t-shirt and put that through as an expense. However, one that I think a lot of people forget that they can put through is a percentage of your rent and bills. Now this is UK based because I'm in Copenhagen and it's different here, but if you work from home, you can put through a percentage of your rent and bills, and you just have to show your calculation and why that figure is applicable. Sorry, I have a dog. So yeah, for example, if there are 4 rooms in your house and 1 room is specifically used only for business and not for leisure, then that's 25% of your rent that you can put through. If you only work in the room 2 days a week, then you have to work out that percentage of the 25%. So I'll put all these calculations in the worksheet. It can get confusing, but basically you just want to work out how it fares to the rooms in your house plus the percentage of time that is spent in there working. So if you're full-time, then just do, and you use 1 room, just do the 25% and keep it simple. You don't have to work out like overnight and all that. Just the number of rooms used and how long you spend working in there. And same with bills, just make an educated guess. So if you work full-time from home and you use the internet, obviously use the internet for leisure as well, but if you want to put 50% of it through, do that. Do whatever you feel is necessary. Same with electric, like if you barely use any electric for leisure, but you have a lot of electrical equipment, music equipment, tech equipment or something like that, then you can put 60 or 70% of your electric bill through, as long as you can justify and almost prove why that your business increases your bill by that much. So basically just put all your calculations on a spreadsheet and add up each bill, do your calculation, rent, do your calculation, and then come to a total, and then that total you can put through as an expense every month. I hope that makes sense. I will try and explain it better and in a visual fashion in the worksheet to make it easier. Other expenses you can put through that are totally normal, genuine expenses: equipment, stationery, marketing and advertising costs. One that may be forgotten sometimes is research. So for me as a creative, going to museums for inspiration, exhibitions, that sort of stuff, it really helps work. And sometimes if you have a particular project with a style that you don't necessarily know a lot about, then research has to be done. And those tickets to exhibitions and museums, gigs if you're a musician, that sort of thing, you can put that through because it's necessary. And yeah, I think some people sometimes feel bad putting the fun stuff through, but it's totally genuine expense, so don't forget to put it through. Okay, on to problem number 2 is running out of money. Now I have covered this, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly. Basically, you need to have saved your startup costs and you need to have saved some living expense money as well. If you want to be really safe, 6 months to a year, just expect to not make a profit in the first 6 months, and that will hopefully be enough to keep your head above water. But if, depending on the nature of your business and how much of a risk taker you are, just make the decision accordingly and just make sure you have some living money or some comfort blanket tucked away in case you don't get as many clients as you thought, as quick as you thought, or yeah, just make sure you're okay and you can cover that initial startup phase, because the startup phase is the hardest. So on to the next one, number 3, not having contracts in place. Now I know this is hard and boring for some people, it is for me, but at the very least, if you collaborate or if you have a supplier that you're working with, even with customers, you need to have some sort of written agreement. If a contract is too big and scary and you're a brand new freelancer and you're starting very small, then just at the very least have an email or something in writing form that outlines and confirms that both parties agree on the cost, the deadline, what is involved and the responsibilities of each person, and obviously any other information that is important to the transaction. But just make sure you have it in writing and that both parties are in agreement before you go ahead with the work. And that should be enough at that stage. Obviously, the more professional and the more in depth of a contract you can get, the better. And I would advise having that in place. But at the same time, it is hard at the beginning to think of every possible scenario, and you will probably add to your contract as you go along and as problems come up that are new and you have new different challenges to deal with. 4, not having professional branding. So I know that this sometimes takes a back seat for some people. The branding is so important. Do not bodge this at the beginning. Even if you think, oh, I'll pay for professional branding later down the line, you want to go into the world knowing what you're doing and you want other people to believe and trust you. And if you go in with unprofessional branding and then change it, then it just doesn't look great. And it's just an easy thing to think, oh yeah, that's fine, but just get the view of a professional or someone with a good eye for design and visuals, because it is hard and what looks good to you may not look professional or may not be portraying your business in the right light. So just double check that with someone whose eye you trust. And unless you have absolutely zero budget, then I would thoroughly recommend you paying someone to do that for you, or at least advising you on where to take it and what sort of logo to have and that sort of thing. Yeah, just at the very least get advice. Best case scenario is you pay a professional to do it for you. The next mistake people make is work-life balance. So this is overworking yourself straight away, burning out quickly, and not managing your work-life balance healthily. So you're not going to be any good to anyone, and your work will not be the best if you burn yourself out. So just make sure that you take time out and rest. It is hard, it is really hard, because your business is your life now, and you're probably going to care a hell of a lot more about this than you did about the company that you previously worked for. But just make sure that people get you at your best and that you take the necessary time to recoup and enjoy having time off as well. That's really important. Look after yourself. So lastly is not being able to find paid work or find enough clients. And this will be a fear at the beginning, most likely, like especially before you get your first client or first piece of work. But all you can do is prepare as much as you can and be positive. And some things that you could possibly do to help you are build a network before you go self-employed. Just browse on LinkedIn, talk to people you know, see if they have any contacts that would be helpful to you or that you could help them. Just try and build yourself a little network that you can reach out to when you have available time and you're free to take on more work. You could also schedule some clients before you actually quit your job. So if they know that they need work that's coming up, book them in advance so you know that you have that work guaranteed for when you leave. Or if you can, I think what most people do is take on a couple of clients alongside full-time work, which again, be careful of burnout, but if you do have the time and the capacity, then by all means do that before you go cold turkey and quit. This comes back to the business plan, but just make sure you know your customer and how to reach them. You don't want to quit your job, get ready for self-employment, and then be like, oh, where do I find these people? Make sure you know who you're targeting and make sure you know which outlets you can use to reach them. Also, utilize the free channels of promotion, social media, flyering local shops and houses, if that works for your business. It did for mine when I had a local business. That was one of our best outlets, is literally flyering houses, and it seems really old school, but in some cases it does work really well, but you just have to know your market, and if that's a way to reach them, then by all means go for it. You can also do mock work. Now this is sort of related to more creative industries, artists, designers, florists, but you can create the work that you want to make for people. It adds to your portfolio, improves your skills, gives you a chance to practice your skills, and just shows people what you can do. So I think that's really good. I did a few pieces like this. And I found it was really cool. It gives you good content to post on your social channels. Yeah, and it's fun. Yay. You can also collaborate with local businesses. So if there are other people who you could work together to form a package or an event, that's always really good promo, because you expose yourself to their audience and they expose themselves to yours, so you help each other out, plus it's fun and you meet new people. So if that's something that you can consider doing, then definitely do it. It will be fun. And then if you do have a marketing budget, just make sure you're spending it in the right way. Don't just whack it all on Facebook. Make sure you know that it is going to be worth the money. I'll go more into this in another video, into like marketing testing and stuff, but don't just think, yeah, Facebook, boom, and throw your money at it. Just make sure that the outlets you're putting money in have actually had a good return from the free stuff first, ideally. But yeah, I'm going to talk more about that in a video because there's so much to it. But yeah, that's some common problems and mistakes that people make or that people face in their new business. So I hope that helps and gives you a bit of a heads up and could help you avoid them altogether. Yay! Thanks for watching, and there's a worksheet in the description as always, and I'll see you next time.